1915. The Quintins Hill Rail Disaster. The Quintins Hill Rail Disaster in Scotland remains Britain's worst railway accident, with 226 lives lost and over 200 injured. The tragedy unfolded due to human error. Two signalmen failed to set the tracks properly. A troop train carrying soldiers collided with a stationary local train, only for an express train to crash into the debris moments later. A catastrophic fire engulfed the wooden carriages, fueled by the gas-lit lamps inside. Most victims were soldiers on their way to World War I, and the devastation left families across Britain grieving. The event exposed glaring flaws in railway safety, especially in signal operations. Following the disaster, stricter protocols were introduced, including better training for signal operators and enhanced safety systems. Quintins Hill's legacy is a stark reminder of the consequences of human negligence. 1944. The Balvano Train Disaster. The Balvano Train Disaster in Italy is one of the most unusual railway tragedies, killing over 500 people. This deadly event wasn't caused by a collision or derailment, but by carbon monoxide poisoning in a tunnel. During World War II, low-quality coal created toxic fumes that filled the train, as it stalled in the poorly ventilated army tunnel. Many victims were impoverished Italians traveling illegally on freight trains, hoping to escape wartime hardships. Packed into the unventilated carriages, they succumbed to the deadly gas within minutes. The Balvano disaster highlighted the dangerous conditions of wartime transportation and the lack of safety measures for both passengers and workers. It remains a haunting reminder of how war's toll extends far beyond the battlefield, claiming lives in unexpected and tragic ways. 1953. The Tangiwai Disaster. On Christmas Eve in 1953, New Zealand experienced its worst rail disaster when a passenger train plunged into the Whangaehu River, killing 151 people. The tragedy was caused by a lahar, a volcanic mudflow triggered by the collapse of Mount Ruapehu's crater wall. The torrent of water and debris swept away the railway bridge just minutes before the train arrived. Despite desperate attempts by locals to warn the driver, the train barreled forward, leading to disaster. Many passengers drowned in the raging river while others were trapped in the wreckage. The Tangiwai disaster revealed the vulnerability of infrastructure to natural events, prompting greater attention to monitoring volcanic activity and reinforcing bridges. It remains one of New Zealand's most poignant tragedies, symbolizing the unpredictability of nature's fury. 1981. The Bihar Train Disaster. The Bihar Train Disaster stands as one of the deadliest in Indian history, claiming 500 to 800 lives. During monsoon rains, a passenger train derailed while crossing a bridge over the Bagmati River, plunging several carriages into the swollen waters. Overcrowding made the disaster worse, with passengers clinging to every available surface. Rescue efforts were hindered by the strong currents and poor visibility, leaving many unaccounted for. This tragedy highlighted the dangerous combination of inadequate infrastructure, extreme weather, and the challenges of managing one of the world's busiest railway systems. While Indian Railways implemented improvements, such as better bridge maintenance and passenger limits, the incident underscored the need for comprehensive reforms to enhance safety. The Bihar disaster remains a somber chapter in India's railway history. 1989. The Ufa Train Explosion. The Ufa Train Explosion in the Soviet Union, modern Russia, was one of the most catastrophic railway accidents, killing 575 people and injuring 800 others. Two passenger trains traveling in opposite directions entered an area where a leaking pipeline had filled the air with natural gas. A spark ignited the gas, causing an explosion so powerful it destroyed both trains and was visible from space. Many victims were families traveling to vacation destinations, turning a holiday journey into a nightmare. The disaster exposed the dangers of aging infrastructure, lax maintenance, and poor coordination between industries. In its wake, stricter regulations for pipeline safety and railway operations were introduced. The Ufa explosion serves as a devastating reminder of the risks posed by negligence in critical infrastructure systems. 1995. The Firozabad train collision. In Firozabad, India, a tragic train collision killed over 300 people and injured many others. The disaster began when a passenger train struck a cow and became stranded on the tracks, an all-too-common hazard in rural India. Minutes later, another train, unaware of the stalled train, crashed into it at full speed. The overcrowded carriages amplified the death toll, as passengers had little room to escape the wreckage. This accident underscored the challenges Indian Railways faces with overcrowding, track maintenance, and communication. In response, the government prioritized modernizing signaling systems and improving driver training. Despite these efforts, the Firozabad collision remains a tragic example of the dangers of insufficient infrastructure and operational inefficiencies in one of the world's busiest rail networks. 1998, the Eschede train disaster. Germany's Eschede train disaster was the deadliest high-speed train accident in history, killing 101 people. The tragedy unfolded when a wheel on the intercity express, Ike, fractured, causing the train to derail at over 200 kilometers per hour. It slammed into a bridge which collapsed onto the wreckage, crushing multiple carriages. The accident shocked the world, as the ice was a symbol of German engineering excellence. Investigations revealed that cost-cutting measures led to the use of substandard materials, compromising safety. The disaster prompted a complete overhaul of train manufacturing standards and maintenance protocols. Today, the Eschede tragedy serves as a grim reminder that technological advancement must always be accompanied by rigorous safety measures to protect lives. 2002, the Al-Ayyat train fire. In Egypt, the Al-Ayyat train fire claimed the lives of 383 people, making it one of the deadliest train disasters in the country's history. A gas cylinder, illegally carried by a passenger, exploded in a crowded third-class carriage. The flames spread rapidly, consuming 7 carriages and trapping passengers inside. Many victims died from burns or asphyxiation, while others jumped to their deaths in desperation. The disaster revealed widespread issues in Egypt's railway system, including overcrowding, lack of emergency exits, and poor enforcement of safety regulations. Public outrage forced the government to promise extensive reforms, but progress has been slow. The Al-Ayyat tragedy remains a sobering reminder of how neglecting basic safety measures can lead to catastrophic loss of life. 2004, the Sri Lanka Tsunami train disaster. The Sri Lanka Tsunami train disaster is the deadliest rail tragedy in history, with over 1,700 fatalities. On December 26, 2004, the Queen of the Sea train was struck by the Indian Ocean tsunami while traveling along the coast. Many passengers initially sought safety in the train, believing it to be sturdy enough to withstand the waves. However, the second and third waves completely engulfed the train, destroying carriages and washing away survivors. Rescue efforts were hampered by the widespread devastation across Sri Lanka. The disaster highlighted the need for early warning systems and better public awareness of natural disaster risks. Today, the tragedy serves as a somber reminder of the tsunami's overwhelming force and the importance of disaster preparedness.